And we're back.
Welcome back, everybody, to the only podcast on the internet that's only making plans for Nigel.
And we know that because we are doctors.
Not doctors.
I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
And on this week's episode, we will be talking about Andy Burnham's first cabinet, and I'm sure his last cabinet and his only cabinet, for it is a cabinet of winners and victories.
Turning to the world stage, we're going to talk a little bit about Spain's victory at the World Cup and the very sad face of one Lionel Messi. Before talking a little bit about a place you may have heard of called the Bab el-Mandeb.
Oh, we all have heard of it before. In the U.S., we're going to be discussing two very interesting topics. One called Freedom Gas.
And one... Freedom Fuel, Chris.
Oh, sorry, Freedom Fuel.
Yes, you got to be alliterative in that kind of thing.
Freedom Fuel, of course, and Laura Loomer. And we're going to end it all with some good news, all that and more on Doctors Not Doctors, starting right now. Patrick.
Chris.
Listen, the summer has fully hit now, so we're gonna have to figure out a way to do a little bit less, a little bit shorter versions of these, as political news will start to become a trickle over the next 6 weeks. And so today, I think that this might be one of our last episodes with a lot of intended content. I think over the next few weeks we should probably talk about bigger subjects. I've been thinking about this, and
we can actually get back to the original version of this podcast, which was let's talk about big ideas in political science and then maybe link them into current events.
Maybe. And we'll have to see if we can even do one for next Friday. It might be a little bit late next week. That being said, I hear there's some new movies in the theater.
There are a few movies in the theater. It's kind of big news. And what's big about the news about the movies in the theater is that for once, it's not a story of, they released a movie and literally no one went to see it.
Like Moana.
Yeah, like the live action Moana. Although, to be fair, come on, it's a live action Disney film. No one goes to see live action Disney films. They are there to retain intellectual property rights for the Walt Disney Corporation. It doesn't matter if anyone sees it. The point is that they put it out there and now they could say, see, we still have copyright for another 20 years.
Yes, I understand. That makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what the explanation is for the Mandalorian and Grogu. That should kill them the small screen, and then they put in the big screen, and everyone's like, meh.
Well, I think that's an important thing to note is that these are pretty solid properties on the on the small screen, but it seems that people are reluctant to leave their homes for the big screen, or so it would seem.
Yeah, right. So it's interesting then that we actually have a story of box office success. We have a movie that is just killing it. People are going out to see it in droves. People seeing it in community, right? They're seeing it with lots of other people with a big screen. What is that movie, Chris?
The movie is The Odyssey.
God damn it, another Hollywood remake.
I think you're going to get a little bit deeper there. It's a story that's been retold time and time and time again. I believe one of the retellings was called Brother, Where Art Thou?
Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? That's right. Yeah. That's right. It is.
Yes, it
I mean, that was pretty loosely based upon the story.
It was loosely based upon the story, just like West Side Story is loosely based upon Romeo and Juliet.
That's true. That's true.
So it's not like this is a new concept, but it is something that I find interesting about this industry, which is that the Mandalorian and Grogu, that's going to struggle for reasons that I don't entirely understand. But it's not like, people aren't going to go see movies. They're just going to see, I believe, longer, more thought out, more intense movies. And obviously they have to have a good director. But I mean, I obviously all these movies I'm about to name are Christopher Nolan movies, but they are not exclusively that. But if you think about Oppenheimer, if you think about I'm blanking on all of the Christopher Nolan movies in the past 10 years, but
I mean, basically everything other than Tenet. I think Tenet was like the one that wasn't.
Tenet was very smart.
Really...
Tenet was it was a big concept movie. But there's a lot of movies that have been made over the past, like Dune, for example.
Right.
A lot of people would go to see Dune and Dune 2, whereas I think that you need something that's longer than 2 hours. You need something that's bigger than your screen or even the biggest screen you can buy, because think about 30 years ago, think about 40 years ago. You're watching your movies on a small CRT television in a VCR that only goes one way. And
that is true.
And now we all have flat screen televisions, or we have computer screens. We have easier access to them. So you need something that what movies had before, which is it gave you something that you didn't have. It gave you better clarity. It gave you better sound. It gave you a better experience. So
It
the
gives
only
you
thing,
it gives you spectacle, right?
yes, it gives you spectacle. So the only thing I think that will bring people into the theaters now, it's what brings me into theaters more often than not, is is IMAX. It's sitting in a thing that's huge. That is now that's the spectacle is going into this massive screen that you can't look away from. Just like when you were a kid, you couldn't find a way to look away from it. You're basically immersed in this thing.
Yeah, right.
You created this environment for almost 3 hours or 2.5 hours. It used to be 90 minutes, and that would be good. We used to sit down and watch American Pie. That stuff's over. No one's going to be making that kind of movie because you can just watch it at home and you can pause it. And you can go outside and you can go get some chips or whatever. But now
they're going to make it, but they're not going to be releasing it on the big screen. It seems like you're right. Maybe this is a division of labor where you've got like smaller scale stories where the focus is really on the characters, the focus is on like dialogue, the focus is on emotional journey, that kind of thing, and that. Yeah, you could totally watch that at home on your laptop. You can watch that with like, your small circle of friends, your partner and whatnot. And that's a perfectly cromulent place to watch that kind of story.
Absolutely.
But if you're talking spectacle, if you're talking something where you've got, worlds colliding, you've got gods intervening in reality, you've got Timothée Chalamet just sort of being Timothée Chalamet, like obviously you need a big screen for that shit. That's just the law of the universe, Chris.
It's not just the big screen. I think it's also the big sound. It's also so much of a movie is sounded. I don't think we understand how much Foley artists do, and I don't believe we understand, the sound of sand going over some stones or something, or the sound of the wind, or the sound of the rain hitting something, and having all these massive speakers that you can't even see giving you something.
That's a really good point, actually. I hadn't considered that.
Which IMAX delivers, which big movies deliver. Like, there's some movies that I'm going to see, or at least I try to see. I'll try to see The Odyssey. I know one of my friends has like tried to book it in for that, but also for Spider-Man, also coming out on IMAX. And then I'll probably watch the Doomsday movie, the Marvel movies, Doomsday, and we'll see how those do, because even Marvel movies are struggling. And a lot more Marvel is now on Disney Plus as opposed to in the theaters. And because I think the ultimate thing we should end it here, because we're a political podcast and not some
fair enough. So well, political and sports podcast, obviously.
Oh yeah, we keep on expanding. But I just think that these businesses are scared of losing money as opposed to taking chances. Yeah. And so Christopher Nolan isn't a chance. Christopher Nolan, if it's shitty Christopher Nolan, it's an excellent movie.
That's true.
As opposed to a masterpiece.
Yeah, but either way, you're going to get some spectacular bang for your buck, so to speak, when you go and see it in the theaters. And so, I think it makes sense. And so, good. We've solved Hollywood, Chris.
Wait, we solved Hollywood. Crossed it off my list. Let's now move on to what we're actually here to talk about. Whoopsie. Let's talk about the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. The last time we spoke, it was Keir Starmer, and now it is His Holiness Andy of Burnham,
King in the North.
King. Yes. Oh, now he is the sub king of England. He is.
That's true. Yeah,
he's England.
He's the under king, Chris.
He's the under king. Yes, he's the under king of England. So, let's talk about his first cabinet, and obviously, Andy Burnham spent a lot of time in the lead up to his assumption of the premiership of the United Kingdom, saying effectively, I don't want to talk about my cabinet appointments. I think it's weird that we focus so hard on this. I understand why the press wants to do this, but I'm not going to effectively give you anything until, until I'm prime minister, and if I'm prime minister. And that was when the time where somebody may have been able to step in and, squash the whole deal. That time has obviously passed. Andy Burnham met with the king, and the king said, hey, would you make a government for me for the 7th time for a new person? And he said, yeah, sure. This is a complete surprise. Wow.
It's an honor just to be nominated.
Chris. It is an honor just to be nominated, to be one of the basically one nominees. and it was a very interesting kind of spectacle. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with how this works, Patrick, but
Okay.
when the prime minister comes in for the first time, they give a speech. There was no lectern this time. They actually had a lectern for many years for prime ministers. That's gone. It was just Andy talking to the press. I'm pretty sure he had a teleprompter below him because there was some kind of monitor there, but it could have been a number of things. It may have just been so he could see if he was on his mark. And he basically said, we're going to be a cost of living government. We're going to be a government that's going to look out for people and blah, 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 blah. And then after you give your speech, then over time, people, members of parliament, because there are no more, there are current ministers, because obviously all the ministers are still there. They start walking up number 10 from like the gates. So if you're not familiar with London and Whitehall and number 10, there's a regular street that everybody can go down basically across the street from the House of Commons in the Parliament. And
just off of Whitehall, right?
Yeah, and there's a giant wrought iron fence gate, and then there's a police officer and there's guards, and you can go in up number 10, up Downing, literally you can go up Downing Street.
All right.
And then you the door will open and you go in, and then I guess you wait. And then at some point it is announced what your job is if you got a job. One of the funnier things that had happened in the past is that when Rishi Sunak was doing a small reshuffle and you're waiting for people to come up, and then as we talked about on the show a while back, David Cameron popped out of a car and he became foreign secretary for a little while in the House of Lords. So, and we'll get back to the Lords later because that's a fun little tidbit for the end. But effectively, people started walking up, and he then a modern thing to do is to post on social media, this person's now this job, and then it usually has some kind of graphic. This time it was a GIF of Andy Burnham meeting people, and I would encourage everybody to look at the one that Ed Miliband got because it is classic Ed Miliband because he doesn't know what to do. Because he's like, is this a video? Is this not? And so it's him going up there, and some people are shaking his hand. Sometimes he's giving the ladies a kiss on the cheek or whatever. There's a lot of hugging, but then Miliband comes in, he gives him a handshake, kind of gives him a little hug, and then he just like kind of looks into camera in a very Ed Miliband Wallace-esque way.
I mean, I find that a bit endearing. I find it endearing to have a politician who is so bad at being photographed. My God. He has bad luck with cameras. I'm just going to say that about old Ed Miliband. But I don't know. I like him. I'm not anti Miliband. Yeah, so I'll put that out there.
Oh yeah, I mean, like he's. There's a few posts here that we're going to talk about in very short phrase. John Healey, who was a Secretary of State for Defense, who left Starmer's cabinet, is now the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Louise Haig, who left Starmer's cabinet because she got busted for fraud, but it was the phone thing. Remember the member of parliament?
Oh, right, where she like,
and then she made
and she reported it lost, but then it wasn't actually lost. She found it later, but she didn't report that she'd found it later, and this constituted a fraud upon the.
You're thinking of Louise Hay.
That is
November 2020,
and that is how Gemini is always listening.
That's brilliant. That's great. I'm so glad that our AI overlords are ready to pipe in the middle of our goddamn podcast.
Still talking. It's still talking. This is not that we did not plan that. Fucking hell.
That's fantastic.
Anyway, okay. I guess also my phone is on because we have our we have a timer. Anyway,
yep.
That's wild. I'm going to keep it in there because that's so dumb.
I think you have to. It's a sign of the times, Chris.
It is a sign of the times. Anyway, so Louise Haig is was the minister who she was a transport secretary who got booted up because of her phones. We have Angela Rayner in the government as Secretary of State for Housing and Communities and Local Government, who left government because of issues with her house and the funding or the mortgages for that house.
Which, I mean, and again, I'm going to stand up for Angela Rayner on this. I am sorry. I am a barrister of England and Wales. I have studied trust law, and if she says that she did not know the exact situation regarding the trust for the property for her son who was, disabled, and this was the result of a court case, and that is an incredibly complex area of law that no one is expected to understand unless you are a lawyer who specializes specifically in trusts, right? And so I don't know. I feel like she got done dirty by the Starmer administration. I think they were just looking for an excuse to perjure. because she was on the left wing of the party, and they preferred not to have that happen. So I suspect that that's what that was really about, quite frankly.
And there you go. So I think you'll note that the first few people that I know that I spoke about, with the exception of Ed Miliband, all left the government. Some because they were kicked out, some because they had to leave, and some because they resigned. John Healey resigned famously, saying that you can't do it. You need to be focusing on this, and you can't focus on that. So you can't be prime minister, Keir Starmer. And these are the people who are given some of the top jobs. Ed Miliband didn't back Keir Starmer, and now he's been given that job. Something else that's really interesting. The leader of the Scottish Labour Party, Anna Sarwar, who tied with Reform in the most recent Scottish Parliament general election, he is leaving the Scottish Parliament to become a lord and then a minister in Andy Burnham's government. Now
that's quite interesting.
Yeah. So all of these people. So Andy Burnham, who came in saying, he said, I want to end factionalism in my party. I want to make this a kind of a big ship, a big tent Labour Party. He is booted with a giant iron boot. Almost all of the Starmerites are people who were in the last government, and some of them, just a small portion of them, have stayed in at a lower job. I think Rachel Reeves was offered education, and she said she politely declined.
There's no way she was going to accept it. You don't go from the chancellery to freaking education. That's just not a thing. But not everyone got the boot. One person who is still in office would appear to be Shabana Mahmood.
That's correct. That's correct. Shabana Mahmood is still in office as the Home Secretary. So we can expect the same heartfelt, caring decision-making on immigration as we've had before with Labor.
I'm a little concerned here, quite frankly. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I do feel like the winds are no longer quite so death to the foreigner as they kind of have sort of been in Britain for the last few years. Like, I feel like the winds are shifting a little bit on that. And, just increasingly, you hear just horrible stories about a deeply badly run, bureaucracy screwing over people who are in the country either legally and they're being threatened with expulsion because of some failure in the bureaucracy, or, real cases of actual hardship and asylum being dealt with. I don't know. I do not know that this is a political win for Andy Burnham. Maybe this is a situation where he feels like any attempt to rock the boat on this will just immediately draw all the harpies of the right-wing press, and he'd like to keep the honeymoon going a little bit longer. But I hope that's not an indication that they're going to keep going with the, really quite right-wing view of immigration that Keir Starmer went.
Well, this is what I'm saying, though. This is what I've been saying since, we heard that it was most likely going to be Burnham. He's still playing with the same deck of cards, and he still has to keep two very different groups of people happy. And to keep Mahmood on side and in the same position indicates to me that they're not going to change any of their immigration policy. I mean, I don't see how they could maybe soften a little bit, but that's just going to bring the ire of all the people who want to see, immigrants getting hurt and punished, because, if I kick out the immigrants, my wife's going to get hotter and my car is going to get better and colors will be brighter and food will taste better. It is a sign that, this isn't going to be everybody's going to get, a £2,000 paycheck every month from the state, which some people might be expecting. This is obviously hyperbole, but some people are going to be expecting some huge social changes in favor of the little guy. And I mean, Burnham has announced, and this is an interesting point, Burnham has announced that he is going to cut VAT on electricity or electric bills, which I assume that means he's going to cut VAT for electric companies have to pay, which they're supposed to pass on to us. But then, and he said he's going to pay for it by canceling the digital ID program. And then one of the people who did not get a job or was effectively kicked out of the government was a guy named Darren Jones, who used to be the chief secretary to the prime minister, a brand new office that was created probably because somebody watched too many episodes of The West Wing. And so
gotta have a chief of staff, right?
You got to. And so the chief secretary to the prime minister, Darren Jones, or former, now Darren Jones MP, just a guy, tweeted out saying, hey, listen, this sounds great. This cut to VAT is going to be awesome. I think, everybody needs a little bit of money in their pockets. P.S. The digital ID scheme is totally unfunded, and so I have no idea where we're getting money for that. Bye.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a little snarky.
a little snarky.
Yeah.
I mean, what he basically he lost his job, and then he took a wrench and threw it right there in the middle of the works and said,
Yep.
"Deal with it. You got rid of me. You could have kept somebody, and you chose not to." There was a root and branch, almost a root and branch clear out of a lot of the people that were kind of on Keir Starmer's side. David Lammy, for example, gone, no job.
Yep.
Hillary Benn, gone, no job. But the people who were clearly part of the removal process, given really good jobs. In fact, I mean, for Anna Sarwar, I mean, this is a bit, granular, but for Anna Sarwar, this is, he lost. And he didn't come in, like he's tied with Reform, and they have to figure out, one has a little bit more percentage wise of the popular vote than the other, but that's the best that you can do in Scotland right now. And so, and for that, he was supposed to be first minister by now, according to Labour. He's not. And so, I don't know if he's going to keep his job or not as leader of the Scottish Labour Party. I think that was in question.
Right.
But no matter what, now it doesn't matter because he's got a job for life in the House of Lords, doing whatever he can do with Keir Starmer, or I'm sorry, with Andy Burnham. And, it just shows, how the people, like there are people who believe in independence and there's people who believe in the union.
Well, it is the actual question, isn't it? So,
and this is the union dividend, I suppose, for Anna Sarwar. Lose several elections, never even get close to winning, and now you have a job for life. Congratulations.
I mean, what else is the House of Lords for, Chris?
That's
a serious question. What actually is the House of Lords for?
We can get into that at a different time.
You're right. That's for later in August.
That's probably for later in August. Yeah, I'm not 100% opposed to the concept of the Lords, as other countries have similar things with similar, not the exact same appointed
in upper house with a clear sort of understanding of what it's supposed to represent. I just don't know that Britain's ever really figured out what to do with it.
No, it is a relic of the past that needs.
It's like a grandfather clock that you've inherited, and it's got to go somewhere. But,
it's got a purpose, and it's a thing. But at the same time, you got to figure out what you're doing with it. Anyways, so we've talked about that enough. I'm sure in the coming weeks and months we can discuss the cabinet positions more, because there's a lot of them. Obviously. And some people did keep their jobs. Some people were able to maintain their positions, because I don't think that they thought that deep into the pack. So we'll see how it goes. Either way, Let's move on. Actually, let's take a small break.
Okay.
Let's take a small break.
Yeah, fair enough. Right?
And then we'll be right back with the international section. So we will see you then. And we're back.
Let's turn our attention now towards the world, by which we mean the United States at war, and also a global competition that is taking place in the United States. It's fine. It's fine. This is totally fine.
Happens to be taking place in the United States this time.
You just can't get away from the United States, can you? But so we've only two things to talk about. We'll keep it nice and breezy, because we're going to talk first about the World Cup final, which actually happened. Spain versus Argentina. And Argentina obviously beat England in the semifinals. It was very frustrating, Chris. It was very frustrating. Again, like England's up 1-0 until like the last few minutes, and then Argentina rallies and scores twice. And
if I could just interrupt you just really quickly, I don't know if we're going to talk about. I don't. Let's not forget about the third place game before we get into the final game.
Well, that's true. We should talk
because it is actually it's an interesting sign that you had England versus France in the third place game, where England was playing very defensively in that semifinals game, and then they had the third place playoff, and then England and France were just like, hey, let's have some fun.
And then oh my God, do they have fun?
And they came in third in the World Cup, 6-4, beating France by 2 goals, 6-4. By the way, that's like a home run derby in American terms.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. This is an absolute. It's just a huge score. The ball was all over the place. And clearly when England decides, screw it, we're going to shoot for the moon. We're gonna try things. It turns out they can actually play a good game. I don't know. Maybe there's a lesson to be learned there. Potentially. Maybe don't get 1 goal up and then be like, okay, and that's enough goals for us.
Oh no!
No more goals, please. We're British.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Probably lesson learned there, but hooray, we beat France. And I think that's nice. So there you go.
But then in the final, the team that beat England played Spain, the team that progenited Argentina.
That is true. That is true. And what's interesting to me about the World Cup final here, Chris, is that, like, on the one hand, you have Argentina, where you've got legitimately one of the greatest football players in the world right now, Messi, who is just, that man is quick. That man is very, very quick. He is not cold. It does not matter. So, and then you've got, the rest of the Argentinian squad, which, I think is sort of, they understand that Messi is the star. They're there to support him. They're obviously they're not bad at the game either. They are Argentina, and they win the World Cup an awful lot. This is like not new territory for them, right? But then you've got Spain. And with Spain, like, who's the standout player in the Spanish team, Chris?
I'm not that much of a football fan to know that.
It doesn't matter if you were. The answer would be and then to be dead air for a few seconds. Like, Spain is kind of like famous for just like not having a single standout like star or set of stars, but instead it's a team that plays very much as a team, right?
Right.
Like, they sort of act as a collective in a sense, and they are, also very famous for just like not scoring a huge amount and not allowing scores to be made against them. So some people call it boring to watch them play football. I don't know that that's fair, but it is clear that they were effective. So not only do they beat France, but now in the World Cup final, they beat Argentina.
Huge.
Yeah. So that's kind of a big deal. Like, that's really interesting, because the politics of this are a little bit interesting as well. So, the president of Argentina, Chris?
Javier Milei.
Javier Milei, indeed. He is a bit of a right-wing loon. One of those like populist leaders you get with ridiculous hair and an outsized personality, and has managed to gain power in Argentina, and on the one hand has brought inflation down massively. On the other hand, did help scammers steal millions of dollars from Argentinians in a cryptocurrency scandal. So,
no way.
I know, it's a real.
Oh my God, it's so hard to find. It's so hard to see that. Oh my God.
Yeah, so very shocking. But also, Javier Milei is a big, big fan and friend of one Donald Trump.
Very much so, because, of course, America helped bail out Argentina more than once during the Trump presidency, which is not that long now, about 2 years.
Yeah. So, some fun stuff. Whereas Spain is very much on Trump's shit list. Right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, because Spain not only did not decide to go and send its young men to die in Iran for reasons to be mentioned later, if the U.S. ever gets around to it, but also they were like, and you also can't use our territory for the attack on Iran, because this, NATO is a defensive alliance. You're launching a war. You didn't talk to us first. We got no dog in this fight. What the hell are you doing? Also, you're dragging up oil prices. Fuck you. So,
you're messing up in all of the ways.
Exactly. So with Spain, you've got a left-wing prime minister, right? You've had a government that has not been cooperating with America's demand for fealty amongst its allies. And so in a real sense, what you had in this World Cup final was, on the one hand, a highly individualistic team representing a country with a extreme right-wing president who's very much in the orbit of Donald Trump. On the other hand, you had a much more community-oriented, sort of non-individualistic team representing a country with a left-wing prime ministership who is on the outs with the Trump administration. And then Spain won. Right. So if you're Donald Trump, that's not, you think that might be a problem, right? You might think that was an issue for you, but if you're Donald Trump, you're also not thinking about anything because you just don't think. So Donald Trump's first response to Spain winning is, I want my picture with the team. I am going to be on the podium with the winning team, and I want my picture with them.
Well, let me stop you there real quick. It has happened before where heads of state and heads of government have appeared in pictures with the winning team. It's not unusual, but this is Donald Trump. So it wouldn't be, we know that when he gets into pictures, he understands that he is the most important person in the picture.
Oh yeah, obviously. That's the goal. I think it's clear to say.
Yes.
But so what's then very interesting is that Well, how'd it work out for him, Chris?
Well, this is what's funny. Okay, so the Spanish team wins, and I'm sure Patrick will cover this in a second, but when you win the game, so there's a third place game, and England came in third, or well, first of the last. England comes in. You heard what I said last week. Yes, heard what I said last week about the third place game. Anyway,
fine.
So they come up and they get their medal. Well, that's more than I've got. And then the other team gets nothing. And the same thing happens. I believe the Argentinian team got a second place medal, and then they had to watch the Spanish team get the first place medal and the trophy. And then after that, is it traditional in football or soccer? When the winning team gets the cup and it finally is theirs, and it doesn't always have to be when they win the game. They take the cup and they have this big moment and they raise the cup up, and there's usually fireworks and streamers and so on and so forth. And a giant picture is taken with the people who deserve to win because they've worked hard at it. In this particular case, Trump comes up and he hands the World Cup along with Infantino to the captain of the Spanish team, and then he's kind of waiting there and he's shaking. He's trying to shake people's hands, but it's Spain. So they're just like, okay, on you go. And literally the Spanish player puts his hand on Trump's back and ushers him along the side, and they keep on moving and they keep on moving. And this must not have been part of the choreography, because an Infantino comes running across the stage as well to get out of the shot. And then there's just Trump standing in the corner of the stage. like a sad child, like I'm also here. He should have just walked off stage. It's not his stage. And then they had this big celebration of all these people very, very happy. And then they cropped Trump out of all the shots. So letting you know where he stands with the Spanish, letting you know where he's at. But that was kind of Trump's interaction with the World Cup, because the World Cup's one of those things where it's very sacred to a lot of people. Like, you can't touch it. You and I can't touch the World Cup. Only heads of state, I think the head of state of the country that it's in, or head of state of the winning country, and the players can touch the World Cup. That's it. So it was wild. It was wild to watch.
I got to say, it's just a real indication of how far Donald Trump's star has fallen, because at the start of this year, he was able to get a Nobel Peace Prize winner to surrender her Nobel Peace Prize in exchange for precisely nothing. But just on the off chance that he might be willing to use his power to help restore democracy to Venezuela. Obviously, he had no interest in doing that ever. She was a fool to think that he would, and we all learned a valuable lesson. But now it's July. It's July of 2026, and everyone knows, this is an old man. He's 80. His brain is mush. He's nothing but a collection of grudges and whims, and he's about to lose big in November. So I think people's willingness to put up with this bullshit it's done, So he could still kill people. He's a very dangerous man.
Yes.
But what he can't do is get everyone to just submit anymore, So, and I think that's a problem for him, because so much of his power comes from the performance of power, looking powerful.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing I think that sort of eats away at that image. But to be fair, it's also happening because that image has been eaten away.
Yeah, it is of itself. Let's move on and talk about the last bit of international news.
All right.
Which you'll have to pronounce it. This is your topic here.
Yes. So basically, if you're familiar with the Middle East, you may know that there's a giant peninsula called Arabia, Chris.
Yeah.
It's kind of a big deal, right? There's a lot of oil there, old civilizations, et cetera. To the north of it, of course, is Iran. And of course, they are separated by the Persian Gulf. And the thinnest point of that is the Strait of Hormuz. And that obviously has been in the news quite a bit, because Iran, in the war with the U.S., has been blocking it. Now, when Saudi Arabia was confronted with the problem of, oh no, the place where we ship all of our oil is now close to us, and we are like 20% of the world's oil, this is a problem because we're not making any money and the world is running out of oil. That's not great.
No.
One of the things that they did was to redirect the flow of that oil. They had because they were forward thinking and knew, hey, there might be some problem with the Strait of Hormuz at some point in the future. They had built a huge pipeline going from the oil fields in the northeast of the country along the Persian Gulf straight across the Arabian Peninsula all the way to the west coast on the Red Sea. And
I believe we spoke about it last week.
Yeah, good. All right. So I'm just bringing it up so everyone is on the same page.
But this is the same thing, just so so everyone's aware. Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. So, so they were shipping all that oil through the pipeline to the Red Sea, and then shipping stuff out from the Red Sea south, not north, only south, because that's where the markets are in Asia. That's where you want to send that oil. And there's a problem with that, because if you're familiar with that geography, there's another choke point there. Yes. Between the small nation of Djibouti and the corner of the Arabian Peninsula where Yemen is, there is an area known as the Bab al-Mandeb, the Gates of Sorrows, which is a baller name for your next punk band. But so, the Bab al-Mandeb, it's interesting because it's, it's thin. It's not as thin. It's not Strait of Hormuz thin. It's not, Suez Canal thin, but it's thin enough that if you got drones and you got missiles, you can wreck shit.
Yeah.
And if you think back a few years, in the middle of the Yemeni civil war, which Saudi Arabia was intervening in, there the Houthi rebels, who are backed by Iran, had been attempting to interrupt global trade. They were making it very hard to move through the Bab al-Mandeb at the south part of the Red Sea, which is a problem because if you get blocked the south part of the Red Sea, you have blocked the Red Sea. The Suez Canal becomes much less valuable, much less useful, and all the traffic that normally goes through it has to be rerouted around all of Africa, and there's a lot of Africa, if you're not familiar.
Yeah, it's a thing that people have taken note of over the past 500 years.
Exactly. Don't be fooled by your high school maps. Those things are not to scale. But yeah, so it's kind of a big deal then. Now, the civil war in Yemen kind of calmed down in 2022. There was a bit of a peace deal and whatnot. Everything's sort of been much more chill of late, but the Houthis are still there, and they are still backed by Iran. And one of the dangers in this war has always been, Chris, that Iran would use its local proxies to commit attacks on its behalf. And it could use the Houthis to disrupt shipping in the Red Sea through the Bab al-Mandeb. And that didn't happen during the first stage of the Iran.
Okay, right. Of course,
we had restrictions. So, you still had about 3 million barrels a day from Saudi Arabia getting out to global oil markets out of the 20 million that normally would have been flowing if the Strait of Hormuz wasn't closed down. So this is kind of a big deal, right? This is like 3% of the world's oil market is still able to get out and into the global market through the Bab al-Mandeb.
Right.
And then, of course, we had the Memorandum of Understanding. We immediately had some misunderstandings about the Memorandum of Understanding.
Yeah.
We had Donald Trump declare that actually they're all scum and villains who are running Iran. And so he starts the war all over again. And then what do you know? The Houthis have just announced that they are imposing a total naval blockade on all ships leaving the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Right. So that's another group of people who have decided to shut down trade in an open bit of water.
Oh, yeah.
So that the world will effectively have to do what they say or run out of the resource that runs our economy.
Well, what's interesting here is that they're not declaring a total blockade. They're not saying no ships are allowed through. Just the ones from the KSA, Chris. Just the ones from
the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So anyone else can go through with as much gravel as they want, but there'll be no fuel to put in the ship.
Yeah, so that's kind of great. And the thing is, this is exactly what literally anybody who knew anything about the geography or the oil markets or any of it would have told Donald Trump, if you start a war with Iran, here's the kinds of things that's going to happen. Here's what they're going to do. Maybe you should have a plan to deal with it, right? And Donald Trump apparently either never heard that or heard it, but it just sounded like, the adults in the Peanuts cartoons. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so it like water off a duck's back, or knowledge off of Donald Trump's hair.
I believe this is that college Republicans logic again. It's the, what are they going to do? Shut off all the oil? Well, we'll just nuke them, bro.
Yep.
Okay. Now you still got to get the oil out, dick. Dude, they're just gonna, dude, they're not gonna do it, bro.
Chris, why do they laugh at my mighty sword?
Why do they want to my money? Yeah, a question the college Republicans get a lot.
Yeah. So it's So this is great, people, because what this means for you and your weekend is expect gas prices to go higher than they already are, and this is all with an extremely ticking clock. Because after all, the only way that gas prices are as low as they are is because we are running through our reserves. And Chris, you've mentioned this before. What was it that Donald Trump said when he first signed the memorandum of understanding at Versailles?
Yes. He said, in short, we've got about 4 weeks of oil left. And so, that was obviously, he probably shouldn't have said that out loud, but he said we had about 4 weeks of oil left. And that was now 5 weeks ago.
Yeah. So it's not great. We don't have a hell of a lot of time for a resolution before things get potentially quite serious. So that's fun.
Well, this is, one of the benefits of electing a funny guy who does memes as president.
Yeah, that's true.
It's Donald Trump or a 12-year-old boy. I mean,
it's almost like your vote means something, actually.
Sometimes it does. Yeah. I think we should leave it there and take a small break and move on to the America section.
All right, let's do it.
And we will be right back. And we're back.
And everybody, it's time for us to start talking about your favorite country and mine, the United States of America.
The United States of America winning on every front except for football, gas prices, and cost of living.
Yeah, and also explosive diarrhea, Chris.
Oh,
can't forget the explosive diarrhea. It's been a hell of a summer.
Apparently, that may have been a false positive at Taylor Farms. We'll have to find out. But either way, you're still American vegetables, like American big vegetables.
God damn it.
Good Lord. But speaking of, winning on gas prices, there is one place apparently doing very well on gas prices.
Yes, indeed. There has been one particular company that has been offering gas at really low prices in the United States, surprisingly low prices in the United States, like suspiciously low prices in the United States.
Like doesn't make any sense business wise.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun. This company is called Freedom Fuel, Chris.
Love an alliterative name. An alliterative name.
It's great. Their branding is all American flags and shit. It's great. It's been endorsed by Donald Trump, telling everyone, see, some companies are keeping gas prices low, implying that therefore the reason gas prices are high is not because of a war in Iran where they've blocked the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb. But no, instead, it's something entirely different. It's just people being greedy. And the thing is, companies are greedy. Gas prices are always greedy. That's how capitalism works. It's literally weaponized greed as an economic system. And sometimes it works pretty well. But that's not what's going on here. Not this time.
Oh, wow.
Because, Freedom
It's not
Fuel,
the benevolence of corporations?
Well, it's not. Because it turns out that if you sell petrol at $3.47 a gallon, then you will lose money with every gallon that you sell and go out of business. So how is Freedom Fuel able to sell its petrol at $3.47 a gallon?
I would love to know.
Well, the thing is, they're not making a loss. No.
That doesn't make any sense because there's no way you can sell it that low because I hear it's somewhere in the fives.
Oh, yeah. No, the average gas price in the United States is $4 a gallon, right?
Okay. So.
So it's, and it's not like gas stations make a huge margin, right? Usually they can only make a relatively small number of cents on every gallon that they sell. So if you're buying from a wholesaler, Chris, you're paying more than $3.47 a gallon.
Yeah.
So if you were buying from a wholesaler, Chris, you'd be losing money if you sold at that price.
If you were buying
from a wholesaler. If you were buying it.
What? Why don't you
buy it?
Well, there's only a couple of things you can do if you're not buying something, Patrick.
Yep.
They stole it?
Yep. Yes, they did.
They stole the oil?
100,000 gallons of gas I'm going to be nice here and I'm going to say misappropriated.
What?
Yeah. So there's a website called The American Prospect, That's prospect.org. They are not what you would call a news organization. They're basically like a center-left think tank, basically. But they did some investigative journalism because apparently no one else is in the Washington press corps to try to figure out where the hell this oil came. And they have got a banger of a story out, people. It is worth checking out. So, 200,000 gallons of gas, basically, that had been kind of siphoned away from actual gas suppliers. And the two people involved here are two brothers who are Syed and Sami Kazmi. And they're fun. They're really fun. The guys behind Freedom Fuel. They have an outstanding default judgment against them in the states of Wisconsin and Michigan. They have an undisclosed business in Florida. That's always fun. Legal disputes with landlords and franchisors from Circle K to Phillips 66 to 7-Eleven. Long history. Legal disputes with gas station owners and all that kind of thing. They are, I think the appropriate legal phrase here is sketch. They are sus, Chris.
They're sus, to use the children's terminology.
Indeed. And so they got their hands on this 200,000 gallons of gasoline that was basically like effectively siphoned off through a very interesting, very complicated, like phantom credit card use. It's a whole thing.
Wow.
And so they've set up and they're selling the Freedom Fuel. And why are they doing this? Well, they're connected to right-wing politics, Chris, as it happens.
No way.
I know.
No way. But right-wing politics veers away from corruption, not towards it.
That's really funny. That's very funny, Chris. That's funny because it's not true at all.
What? No way.
Yeah, no.
I'm surprised that right-wing politics would have anything to do with a suspect group of people who have seemingly inappropriately appropriated 200,000 gallons of petrol.
You would really think that if you're the president of the United States and there's some sus activity going on, you probably don't want to get your name all over it, lest you get its stink all over you. But this is Donald Trump, and he doesn't think, Chris. He is a creature of grudge and whim. And so he just leapt on it immediately, and now the story's all coming out. And it's like, once again, people, if you see something that is too good to be true, it is not true. That's how it works, right?
I wouldn't say that it's not true, because they are selling the gas for $3.47 or $3.57 a gallon. That part is, so it's not that it's not true. It's just that there is no way for it to be legitimate.
Yeah,
it's kind of like this gold bar cost $3,000 when I'm going to sell it to you for 10. Like, why? Don't worry, I'm gonna sell it for $10.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. You could still get it for $10, but you're not going to be. You need to get there quick, because if there's only 200,000 gallons of this gas going around, that's one thing I want to talk about. The second thing is that I have heard about this before. I haven't heard about the source of the fuel before, but I have heard about where they're located, and this is the thing that I really wanted to focus on. It's in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania. Put New Jersey to one side. They opened up these things in the
Sopranos opening is running through my head as we speak, Chris.
In Pennsylvania, a swing state, right? So I'd be very interested in where in Pennsylvania these are, why Pennsylvania was chosen, why New Jersey was chosen. There's a number of reasons why New Jersey could have been chosen as well. And then Sopranos theme song is running through my head as well.
Exactly.
But for Pennsylvania, that seems really interesting. The second thing is, like, okay, so Trump immediately jumped on board and said, look at what these entrepreneurs are doing. It's not, the government, it's these horrible businesses. But to only put it in Pennsylvania right now, I'm wondering if how effective it would have been if it came out maybe in a month and a half. As in, it is July right now. I'm recording this on the 22nd of July. Let's say it was the store started opening in September of this year in Pennsylvania. All of a sudden, people are saying, "Oh, Freedom Fuel, sponsored by Trump, gas is lower. Oh, maybe things aren't as bad as I thought they were, because the cost of living is coming down." But it turns out it might be coming down because a company found its way, accidentally itself into 200,000 barrels of gas. Somehow, and that's the big question. You can't sell it for a loss And so if there's no, apparently, according to what I can see here, there's no bill of sale. There's no chain of ownership. It just appeared.
Yeah, they just have 200,000 gallons of gas, like you do, Chris. And just some days you wake up, and you find $10 in the pocket of your jeans after they come out the wash, and that's a good day, right?
It's a good day, great day.
You find yourself in control of $200,000 of petrol.
200,000 gallons of gas. That's just, and you're selling it. And because you don't know where it came from, you don't know how you paid for it. I'm sure you did somehow, but let's just assume that I paid for this gas in 1997.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I found it behind the underneath a rock.
Exactly.
I found it in the crooks of my couch. And so I'm going to sell it to you at a loss, what it would be for today. But, I'm making some money because I'm making 1997 gas. This is
right. Exactly.
I mean, it really does stink. So, frankly, it's a dual-edged sword here, because if you live in those areas and you got cheap gas, go get the cheap gas, but know that it will disappear very quickly.
Yep.
Either
this is not a also
either by force or by not, but it's going to turn out.
Also, if it does turn out that the gas was gotten through a means that might be described as illegal, and now you know about it because you listen to our podcast, and you would be knowingly potentially purchasing goods that you had reasonable belief that were stolen, and that could open you up to legal liability potentially. This is not legal advice, but like, if someone's trying to sell you something and there's no way they can sell it legitimately at that price, that should probably make you think that that might be hot, and that is something you do not want to touch.
Yeah, I guess we could say that, again, not legal advice, but it feels like this gas fell off the back of a truck.
Yeah, that it certainly feels like that, doesn't it?
It feels like that. Like, we can't say that it does. You could think that, but we can possibly comment.
Exactly.
So let's move on to the last bit of American news on this shorter version of our pod, and it comes from yesterday. Scrolling around and I
Did
just
you find a thing, Chris?
I happen to find a thing here, and it just I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read part of it to you.
All right, go on.
And it just says, just experienced my first air raid in Ukraine, sirens blaring. This is every day for every Ukrainian. I feel like such an asshole for minimizing the struggle of Ukrainians for the last 5 years. Whoa. I often said, I don't care. Looking back, that wasn't very nice of me to say. There are people in Ukraine who have to run to a bomb shelter every day. And some of us had the audacity to say Russia wasn't wrong because we believed the lie that Ukraine is a country full of Nazi sympathizers. We have been so propagandized by Russia, and we don't even realize it. That was Laura Loomer.
God.
That was Laura Loomer.
What?
Chief conspirator of MAGA.
Laura Loomer. The rumored, well, lots of rumors about her, actually, that I will not be repeating on this podcast.
Of course not.
But so this is someone who, for those of you who don't know Laura Loomer, she is a nutcase. She is an absolute psychopath. She is extremely right-wing. She is virulently anti-Muslim, and not like terrorism, but like literally against the religion and all of its practitioners. She is. She's not a nice person, Chris. I think it's a fair thing to say.
She's not a nice person. She kind of is at the very center of the conspiratorial MAGA movement. She basically got known for posting all sorts of nonsense online. She ran to be a congressperson, lost. She sure did. I think she was one of these people, and I'd have to check on this, but I think she's one of the people who was paid to speak at January 6th. A lot of people forget that January 6th, there's a lot of money put into that rally, and there are some people who were paid tens of thousands of dollars to speak for 90 seconds.
Nice work if you can get it, Chris.
Yeah, great work if you can get it. I mean, it helps to be part of a potential coup. So she is also a person who in the past 18 months has, gone to the mat for Trump and clearly instructed Trump and Trump officials not to appoint people. She's one of these people who I believe was coming out of the White House with those binders on the Epstein files. She's one of those people.
Yep.
She's one of those people who just kind of like Benny Johnson and all these other people, they scream into the camera, pro-Trump no matter what, and just absolutely whatever Trump said, whatever MAGA said, whatever Miller put into her head, it came out the other end immediately, seemingly without question. And obviously, one of the things that came out of her head, without question, was her opinion on Ukraine. Just like the dude with the Tim Pool and Benny Johnson, all MAGA folk, all serious, high level, high paid MAGA folk, anti-Ukraine, 100% anti-Ukraine. And now Laura Loomer.
Now, to be fair, Chris, Tim Pool, you bring up Tim Pool, and I just want to say this about Tim Pool. The reason why he believed that Russia was right and said so on his podcast is just because Russia paid him millions of dollars.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah. So they and this is a true story, people, that Russia paid millions of dollars through shell corporations to a bunch of right-wing bloggers, including Tim Pool and I believe Benny Johnson, actually. This came out last year, I believe. Yeah. So, so some of them, I think they only said it because, they're cheap and can't be bought. So, I don't know if Laura Loomer is one of them. I think she's a true believer, Chris.
No, she's she's posted all sorts of craziness. Basically, any crazy thing you heard Trump say, she's posted it as well. The whole they're eating the cats and stuff, they're eating all that. She was all part of that. But so the reason that we bring this up is because this is a massive 180 for a person who not that long ago was eating the Trump diet. Whatever MAGA said, whatever Trump said, it is what she regurgitated. And now she's posted publicly that she was wrong about Ukraine. And Ukraine is one of these big ticket items for MAGA, because this is when MAGA is like, your money is getting wasted on this war in Ukraine. We need to stop funding it and allow Russia to take what it wants. And remember, it was not long ago when Trump had Vladimir Zelensky in his office to yell at him for defending his country.
And where Donald Trump had, just about a year ago, in fact, in August, Donald Trump had Vladimir Putin fly to Alaska.
That's right.
Right? For the Anchorage Accords, wherein Donald Trump agreed to give Vladimir Putin everything Vladimir Putin could ever want in exchange for nothing of any utility to the people of the United States. It was this massive diplomatic surrender that did not lead to Ukraine collapsing, because it turns out that Ukraine they're going to fight for their freedom regardless of what we do. It's just that maybe we can help them win quicker and fewer people die, or we could not do that and let more people die. So I don't know.
Yeah, her post ends with some classic Loomer, but also with a very interesting last line. The post ends with, air sirens could very well be the future of America if we don't start demanding our lawmakers crack down on communism and multipolarity. See, that's back to like kind of getting back into the same.
Exactly right.
It's dipping into the same pool.
Vladimir Putin, noted communist.
Yeah, but she says we won't have Trump forever, and the axis of evil is moving fast. So now these are the same people who, I would be very surprised if they weren't behind or didn't back the whole third term, Trump 2028, But now she's like, Trump won't be around forever. OPS, Ukraine, it definitely isn't filled with Nazis. And maybe I was wrong about this. Maybe I was wrong about that. This goes along with
she's
Trump
compassing the death of the king, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. This is Trump not in the picture. This is Trump being on the sidelines of the picture. And you're starting to see more and more now of this inner, really gooey, MAGA, inky, shitty place. They're starting to peel off and pretend like I never supported Trump. I mean, Tucker Carlson is already, fully detached from the MAGA sphere, right? He's still,
As parasites go, Chris, he's got a keen eye for when it's time to move on.
Yeah. You're seeing more of these rats jump off the ship, and some of them probably won't be able to. I mean, if you're inside the Trump White House, that's going to be tough. But I mean,
Stephen Miller is going down with that ship.
Well, he'll have to. I mean, he'll have to. But what the Dan Bongino? He's probably one of the first ones to jump off. I mean, I'm sorry, former assistant director of the FBI, Dan Bongino
is a phrase that should never be spoken in any context. But my God, it's got to be said now because it's true.
Yeah, it's a thing that actually happened. That's really happened, and it's just something that I'm finding interesting. It's that we are in July now. We are not that far off from the midterms. We're in a position that that it doesn't look good for the MAGA, for Republicans, because of a number of reasons, none of which is good. And it's a very hard story to tell. You still have a lot of, like you said, we still have a lot of dangerous things going on there, like John Fetterman apparently toying with the concept of jumping ship if it's a small majority, because we haven't been nice to John Fetterman and we should be nicer to John Fetterman.
Well, if his official reasoning is that if the Democratic Party becomes an anti-Israel party, then he would jump ship.
Yes.
Yeah. So I wonder what that entails, what that means to him. I bet it means being nice to John Fetterman would be my suspicion.
I think it's more being nice to John Fetterman than anything else, that we're just not being nice enough to John Fetterman. And I'm sure Republicans behind the scenes are being very nice to John Fetterman.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they're probably showing him a bunch of poll numbers, which make him think that, jumping ship is going to do him well.
I mean, he's got 19% support in the Democratic Party in his state. So, he's not going to get another Senate term, but he seems to hate the Senate. He seems to hate being there. He doesn't want to do the job. So, I mean, I don't know if that's like, whatever.
Who cares? We will talk about John Fetterman at a later date, but it is notable that these people are starting to very publicly get out their lifeboats, however small they may be. Because let's not forget, I think a large reason these people are the way that they are is because they're creating their financial lifeboat. They aren't doing it for free like you and I are. We're getting nothing from this. We're not getting any AdSense. We're not doing it. Obviously, we're not getting money from this. But these people, they have their slick studios. They have their great microphones. They have thousands of pounds of equipment just to record, and then they have all their deals, and then they also get their paid. They also get their thoughts given to them. We've seen people read what from the White House what they're supposed to say. So that's their life.
Nice work if you can get it, Chris.
Which is nice work if you can get it. I think we'll end it there, and we'll end it with some good news from Maine.
Woo! So, for those of you who've been following the saga of Graham Plattner, you may know that he got pressured to resign because it turns out dude might have actually been a rapist, and you just can't have that in the Democratic Party. It turns out that's the problem if you want to run for office in the Democratic Party. I don't know why I'm specifying which party, but I'm just saying it for fun.
You're just saying it as it needs to be said. That's all I'm hearing.
Yeah. So, but as it happens, he dropped out after he had won the Democratic nomination. And for a lot of people, this was a real question. Well, what the hell happens now? Who is going to be the new nominee? And there was a quick, it seems, decision amongst the people in the party who were considering to run. Basically, they all kind of thought to themselves, all right, we have like no time to pick a candidate. We got to get this done by the 23rd, which is tomorrow. So it seems that the party has more or less come to the unanimous conclusion, and they picked a candidate, Chris. They've got a guy.
Habemus Candidum.
Exactly. And the man's name is Troy Jackson.
Troy Jackson.
Yep, I'm going to call him T-Bone because his name begins with T.
Oh, my God.
His name begins with T. But yeah, so T-Bone. No, okay, I'm going to be serious. Troy Jackson. It's interesting because Troy Jackson is someone who is coming out of the labor movement. He's a middle-aged white dude.
Yeah, he does not look like a T-Bone, I'll tell you that.
No, he does not look too much like a T-Bone, but his name does begin with T. So there you go. But yeah, so basically he's, in a weird way, what Graham Plattner was presenting himself as being. Graham Plattner came from a very wealthy family, right? He joined the military. After he left the military, he starts an oyster farm. That is all true. But he ran and sort of presented himself as like a tribune of the working class, a tribune of like the sort of forgotten America. And I'm not going to say that if you're not from the right class background, you're not allowed to do that. FDR was super rich and ended up being the best thing for American labor ever, basically. So, so I'm just going to point that out. But George Jackson, it appears, actually sort of is that. He is coming out of the labor movement. He is not coming from like great wealth. What's interesting is that he's not a dynamic speaker like Graham Plattner was.
Right.
Which I think was explain why he didn't win the nomination in the first place. But so it seems like the Democratic Party has kind of decided that like the basic coalition that Graham Plattner was trying to assemble, that's not bad. That's a coalition you can win. The problem was Plattner. And so if you can have Plattner's coalition without Plattner at the head of it, then you might have something going for you. So yeah. So the nice thing is there won't be a big knockdown, drag out fight as people knife each other for the nomination. Instead, it seems that the Democratic Party of Maine has decided there's one thing that matters and one thing only: beating Susan Collins. Got to take the Senate seat because, well, it's all hands on deck.
Well, yeah. There's no second chances here.
Right. So I'm going to give some credit to the people who might have run and decided to drop out in the name of, the good of the party and the good of the country.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do, and people did it. So yeah, well done.
Well, good. Well done to the Mainers, or whatever they call themselves, to sort this out as quickly as possible and not, cut themselves to bits over it.
Exactly.
He used to be president of the Senate in Maine as well.
Yes.
So it's not like he's some, novice. He will at least have an understanding of how obviously Maine politics works, and maybe even legislative politics. So I guess game on again. And again, you have a candidate like Suzanne Collins, who has to defend ICE killing somebody in her estate.
And sure does.
Have a person like Troy Jackson, who I think even if he isn't a dynamic speaker, apparently he started off as a Republican. He was a Republican before 2002, and then he became a Democrat in 2004. So he can explain the changeover. So he definitely can. I think he, having never heard of him, but if you made that change, you probably have the capacity to speak to those in the middle who might be, a bit iffy on your choices or on their choices. So, that's good for him. I think that even though he tried to make this short, it's gone as long as normal. So
That's true. Nature abhors a vacuum, Chris.
Nature does abhor a vacuum, just like we do. That's why we always keep on talking.
That's what I always say.
Yeah. I think next week will be a little bit, the episode will come out a little bit later. And maybe we'll figure out something to do during the summer months that isn't just all this. But as always, I'm Dr. Silverstein.
I'm Dr. Armshaw.
And we are doctors.
Not doctors.
Good night.